Yeah, Tom Ham. Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to the Bundesliga show. Hope everyone is doing well. As you can tell, it's just myself and Rune this evening. So, Rune, how are you doing?
Fine, thanks. Good and refreshed after the international break.
Indeed, yeah. It feels like it's been a very long time. But yeah, I mean, I barely caught any international football myself. I've got the serious craving and hankering for a bit of Bundesliga football to get stuck into. So we're going to obviously we're going to do our predictions this evening. We'll go through that a lot quicker in order to have ourselves a proper fantasy draft, which obviously Rune will more or less lead on, going through goalkeepers, defenders, midfielders, and strikers. As to what you want to be targeting from now until the end of the season, because obviously no more international breaks and we're straight through. So, of course, this Thursday night show is indeed in partnership with Bully News. I always do that wrong. It is with obviously Rune's editor-in-chief of the brilliant website that is Bully News. I go there for all my information, like we were just chatting about a second ago, Rune, about all the potential not good news coming out of my club, VfB Stuttgart, about players wanting to potentially leave. But that is the place to go if you want to know all about, news and transfers, everything fantasy football. So obviously go check them out on Twitter or online. And please do drop us a like, comment along if you're watching on Twitter or anywhere else, pop over to YouTube. Fire away some questions at myself or Rune, more or less probably going to be Rune in this instance with regards to fantasy football. And please do subscribe as we're slowly but surely creeping towards that 500 marker. So it'd be nice to hit that before the end of the season and then push on. Right, so we'll go into our predictions pretty much straight away. So we're looking ahead now to match day 28. So, we're getting through them now. It's really at the, the pinch end of the season. So we've got a Friday night game between FC Union Berlin and FC Köln. Tricky one anyway, I think, because both teams have had, well, I suppose you'd say that Köln have maybe had a better season from where you look at it from there. Union have been a bit hit and miss. So I will go for a 1-1 draw. Rune, what do you reckon?
Yeah, I agree. That's also my prediction. I think it looks like a pretty even game between two sides that are like in the same position, same area of the table. So a draw seems like a realistic outcome.
Very good. Moving on to Saturday afternoon, Freiburg hosting Bayern Munich. Could well be a pretty tasty encounter, this one. I think Freiburg at home, obviously, a very tough proposition, but I think the champions will have enough about them. You're well rested, so I'll go for a 3-1 away win. Rune, what do you reckon?
Yeah, I think Bayern will get the win here too. But yeah, Freiburg are certainly not an easy side to play against, and they have the ability to potentially get a result here. But then again, as you say, Roy, Bayern have had the chance to rest some of the players during this national break, and they have some players coming back from injuries. And we're moving towards the crucial part of the season, and 3 points would be good for them in the championship clash with Dortmund up front. So.
Yeah, very good. Moving on, ginormous game at the bottom end of the table. So, Arminia Bielefeld host VfB Stuttgart. Colossal, hugely important game. Stuttgart all of a sudden find themselves sitting pretty in 14th place, although you probably have to say it's a bit of a kind of false position in terms of how safe they actually are, because a loss, I think, pretty much puts them back into the bottom 3 or 2. So I'll go with the tetchy. I'm going to say 1-1 draw. I can't say that Stuttgart will lose, but I feel like the international breaks come at the worst time for them. Rune, what do you reckon?
Yeah, I agree with what you said. They were in great form before the international break, so they would probably have liked to just keep performing and not having a break. But at the same time, Bielefeld were in terrible form before the international break, and I think they're really, really struggling at this part of the season. And Stuttgart have, the wins that they managed to get before the international break will surely have given them some confidence. that Bielefeld don't seem to have at the moment. So I actually think Stuttgart will win this 2-0.
That would be lovely if it was the case, Rune. I'm sure that would be very welcome by some of the Stuttgart fans. Right, we've got Leverkusen at home to Hertha. Interesting one after a really good result for Hertha against Hoffenheim before the international break. They now face another tricky one away to free scoring Leverkusen side, obviously without two of their most important players, although I'm not sure how far Patrick Schick is off a return. But obviously the loss of Wirtz is very important. Nevertheless, I think there will be a close game, but I'll go for a 2-1 home win for Leverkusen.
Yeah, I'll go for 3-1 win for Leverkusen. I was actually quite surprised that Hertha managed to do so well in Felix Magath's first game in charge. But I still think it's kind of hard to predict if they will actually turn things around or if it was just one game, basically. And this game is very, very difficult away from home against Leverkusen, even though they have Frimpong and Wirtz out. They showed before the international break that they can compensate for their absences. So, yeah, I think Leverkusen will win this.
Yeah. Just before we move on to the rest of the games, I've heard a lot of people saying that this Hertha win against Hoffenheim was a massive, false dawn. What do you reckon, Rune? Do you agree with that? Do you think it's just a bit of a one-off and they'll still be struggling?
I think it's quite hard to say actually at this point. I think I need to see another Hertha game before I can really judge, because what I saw from them in that game was pretty good and far above what I expected actually. And I think they looked much more organized, and they also looked much more like they wanted to really fight for it. I mean, under Korkut, they looked like a team that didn't really want to run that extra mile for each other. And I guess that's some of the things that Magath can actually add to a team, the disciplinarian things. So in that sense, I think they look like a really improved side. But then again, he's been out of the game for a long while, Magath, and I'm still not quite sure he has the touch on today's game that is needed to keep them out of the relegation battle. So actually, it would be exciting to see if they can pull off another great result, or if it was just one off. I think it's a bit hard to say at this point.
Yeah, agreed. Okay, moving on. Hoffenheim hosting Bochum. It'd be obviously a chance for Hoffenheim to bounce back after that shock loss to Hertha. Bochum, I don't think they're mathematically safe, but they may as well be for me. It'll be a close game, but I'll go 2-1 for Hoffenheim, so they'll bounce back.
Yeah, I think Hoffenheim will bounce back too. Bochum are one of the sides that is. They're far better at home than away from home, and Hoffenheim will have some players back from COVID. That's also part of the story. They had some absences against Hertha due to COVID. So I just think they have so much quality in their side, and they should beat this Bochum side pretty easily. So 3-1 win.
3-1, okay. Last afternoon game, we've got Frankfurt hosting Greuther Fürth. A thing without kind of going into too much depth. They're not quite mathematically gone, but and again they've been a much more improved side in the second half of the season, so credit to them. But I think they will succumb, and I think Frankfurt will get over the line quite comfortably. So I'll go 3-0 for Frankfurt.
Yeah, I think Frankfurt will win this as well. 3-1 is probably a likely outcome, I'd say. I think it could be one of those games that Fürth just really break down and lose by a really large margin. But it kind of depends on how the game develops. It's hard to see them getting anything away from home against the Frankfurt side. With the way they've been playing this season, Jesper Lindstrøm in great form, and Kamada past fit to play. I think they should win this.
Very good. And then we got, a very, very big game on Saturday evening. Hopefully it's on Sky, so that I'll be able to enjoy it. It's Borussia Dortmund at home to RB Leipzig. I'm pretty sure that there's not going to be any Erling Haaland, who, of course, has been a pretty eminent figure in newspapers and tabloids and everywhere else about his future, but he will not be part of this game by the sounds of it. So, I mean, with Leipzig, the way that they're playing, I'd put them as strong favourites to finish third, which I fully expect them to do. So I'm going to say on this one, I'll go 3-1 to Leipzig. There we go. What do you reckon, Rune?
Yeah, I agree with regard to Leipzig winning this with Erling Haaland likely to miss out. I can't really see Dortmund winning this. Leipzig have been playing so well under Tedesco. And yeah, as you say, I think Dortmund have maybe the table like flatters them a little bit. It looks like they've been playing better football than they actually have. And at the same time, even with the wins they've been getting recently, I think they've been quite lucky actually. And Leipzig have really dominated games recently. So 2-1 win for the wayside is my prediction.
Very good. Straight on Sunday's games then, we've got FC Augsburg in need of a win at home to Wolfsburg. Wolfsburg for me have been playing all right, but they've not been getting the results on the pitch that maybe they think they deserve. Although, they've been throwing away quite a few leads as well. So I guess ultimately, if you don't perform for 90 minutes, you don't, you deserve what you get effectively, don't you? Tricky one this, but I'm going to say a 2-1 away win I'll go with. So Wolfsburg to nick a needed win as well, I guess.
Yeah, I think I think a 2-1 win for Wolfsburg sounds reasonable. I think they've been playing quite well, but then again, I'm not blown away by how they played under Kofeld, but they have much more quality in their side than Augsburg, and also they have Lucas Meka playing again up front, and I'm excited to see him playing with Kruse and Jonas Wind. Yeah, I think they should be able to hit Augsburg on the counter in this game, and they're usually quite good at counter-attacking.
Indeed. So last game of the weekend, we've got Borussia Mönchengladbach hosting Mainz. So again, probably more of a mid-table clash, but I suppose you can't just discount Gladbach from possible relegation, although now that they've been awarded the Balkan points, they now look a lot more comfortable, don't they? So very hard one to predict. Obviously, they're only separated by one place. Gladbach, I think I'll back Gladbach on this occasion. I'll go for a narrow 2-1 win.
Yeah, same here. I think Gladbach are kind of hard to predict. But then again, they have actually won some important games recently, and at the same time, Mainz are just a very different side away from home. They're the second worst away team in the league actually. So they take most of the points at home. So yeah, Gladbach will win this.
Very good. So that's all our predictions done in nice timing for obviously match week 28. So very much looking forward to that. Some very interesting games at the top and the bottom of the league. So it's time to turn our attentions to refocus on fantasy football. We're going to have a bit of a redraft, the draft ahead of the last, seven or so games of the season. Obviously, so what we're going to do is we'll just go through each position. So goalkeeper, defender, midfielder, and striker. And Rune's basically going to lead us through who he's going to kind of slot into his team. So his 2 picks for goalkeepers, 5 defenders, 5 midfielders, and 3 strikers, how he might line up, and everything in between. So if you've got any fantasy football questions and they've not come in on Twitter already, I didn't spot any before we started. But if they have done, just shout up, or if you've got any live, just pop them in the comments and we'll prioritize them and we shall ask Rune. So obviously in terms of starting in a chronological order, we shall start with the goalkeepers. So Rune, do you want to just talk us through the board a little bit? So who have you got your eye on that you might not have done previously with regards to the end of, the last kind of few games of the season?
Yeah, I think that there's one pretty much no-brain solution in goal, and Marvin Svebe is an obvious pick because he costs just 1.2 million, and and is the cheapest starting goalkeeper by far. Should keep his starting spot until the end of the season, and at the same time, Köln have a pretty good schedule. I think I looked at the table, and it looks like they're not going to face any of the top 6 teams from now until the end of the season. So Svebe should have a good chance of doing consistently well, as he's done basically since he took over from Timo Horn in goal. And then I've been a bit unsure about who to partner him up with. I think it's kind of tough. At the moment, I'm leaning towards Pavel Pervan from Wolfsburg, actually, because he costs just 1 million, and Koen Castells is likely to miss out again. From what I can see, there's still a slight chance Castells will play and make the squad. So maybe keep an eye out for the press conference tomorrow if you're considering Pervan. But that's what I'm leaning towards at the moment, just to free up a bit of budget for other positions. If I'm just going to talk through a bit of the other options I've been considering, then Frederik Rønnow should start for Union Berlin instead of Lude, who is out injured. So he's another cheap option. And if you're looking for a more like consistent, permanent solution to partner Svebe with, I actually looked at Alexander Svolow because he's really improved in terms of fantasy points in the second half of the season, and also Hertha might do better as we talked about now that they have a new coach. Also, of course, Mark Flecken has been doing really well this season. I think he's the best producing goalkeeper in the game, so he's also a good option. But then again, he has a tough opening match, of course, against Bayern. But of course, if he makes a lot of saves, then it won't be a problem. But Flecken and Svolow are probably the options I would consider if I were to like pay 4 or 5 million more for a goalkeeper, for a second goalkeeper.
Not a problem. Okay, so I've just punched them into a banner. So we'll run them across the bottom there, and we'll just add to the team as we go along. So at the moment, we've got the 4 names, as you mentioned there, Rune, but you reckon you'll probably sway with Schwaber and Pervan for your goalkeepers to start with, just to free up a bit of money. Okay, so that makes sense. We'll leave the banner rolling across the bottom. We'll just add to it as we go along. So obviously that's it for our goalkeepers. So let's move on to defenders then. So we can probably split this up, I guess, into fullbacks and centre backs maybe. So do you want to start with some fullback options first off, Rune, and who you might want to get in your team, and a few names to note as well?
Yeah, at the moment, 4 of my 5 defenders are actually fullbacks. So but that's just typically how I prioritize in the game, because fullbacks are just so attractive in terms of setting up shots and like getting involved offensively. They offer a lot compared to the centre backs. But first one is Aaron Martin from Mainz, 4.1 million. He's just an incredibly solid player for the price. He's picked up 7 points on average this season, and he's just a player that you can just keep in your team, and he doesn't cost a lot, and he does quite well every week. So he's a good player. He's a good enabler, I would say, to maybe get some more expensive players in your team as well. And to continue with some of the more expensive ones, I've gone for Ivan Ndika from Frankfurt, 11.5 million. That's a centre back. Just moving on price wise from the least expensive to the most expensive one. I think he's been quite solid this season. He's a threat, set piece threat, and he plays for a Frankfurt side with a quite good schedule. Of course, they have this really, really good fixture against Greuther Fürth coming up, where he could do well. And I think 3 of their next 4 games are home games. And at the same time, I'm actually looking a bit ahead because once Alphonso Davies is fit enough to start, I might upgrade Ndika to him, and then it makes sense to pick Ndika because he's quite expensive. So if I want to bring in Davies instead, I will only have to like free up 3 million somewhere else in my team, which would make it easier.
Not a problem.
And my third pick at the moment is Borna Sosa from Stuttgart. Your boys, Roy, 11.8 million. I think, he was obviously in amazing form before the break. He picked up 40 points in his last 3 games before the break. But he's a slight doubt after picking up a knock on international duty. I watched the press conference today with Materazzo, and he said that they would have to look at him in training before making a decision on whether to risk him. So at the moment, I assume that he will be fit enough to play, especially because it's a really important relegation 6-pointer against Bielefeld.
Okay.
But it's probably wise to look for further updates on him tomorrow if you're considering him.
Good stuff. Any other names?
Yeah, and then I have like 2 premium picks: Rafael Guerrero, 14.2 million, and Angelino, 15.6 million. And I think the story with them this season is pretty similar. They haven't been quite as good to own as in previous seasons because they were just like almost must-have players in the previous versions of the game. But they've still managed to do quite well. I think Guerrero has picked up 8 points on average, and he's always capable of scoring big. And with Angelino, I think what he's shown since Tedesco took over is more of what we were used to see from him in previous seasons. He has really improved. I think from the last 3 games, he has scored 39 points. So he's really starting to show the form that made him an attractive player in the past. And again, he's also one of the defenders that can be a real difference maker.
Good stuff. Any other kind of differential players or clubs that have like you mentioned, Frankfurt have got a pretty okay run in? Any other teams or players maybe from Frankfurt that you might consider?
I don't really think Frankfurt have that many attractive defenders actually. But I looked at I think Gladbach's Luka Netz is a quite good option. Actually, Gladbach also have 2 pretty good fixtures coming up. They have Mainz at home, and then they have Fürth away from home. Luka Netz is really cheap, 4.7 million, and he picked up a lot of points in the last 2 games before the international break and should start this one as well. The biggest downside is that it's the last game of the match day, so
right.
If he doesn't do well and you sub him in, then you can't really do anything about it. But then again, he's so cheap that maybe it's okay if he isn't like the highest scoring player in your team. So he's a good pick. And then I would look at Pavel Kaderabek if I was sure he would start, but I heard that Rune, the Hoffenheim coach, said earlier today that he isn't sure if Kaderabek is in a condition where he can actually start because he was out with COVID, I think. Maybe he hasn't really been able to show what he did before in training. But he's certainly a player to keep an eye on. And I also looked at Nico Gieselman actually because he was so good earlier this season and he's cheap. But he's been hit pretty bad by injuries the last few months. But then now maybe he's had the chance to recharge his batteries and really get up to full speed again. And he plays on Friday evening, which means you could put your star on him and then just change it on Saturday or Sunday. He adds a lot of flexibility. The only thing that speaks against him, I think, is that I'm not really confident about Union. I think they haven't looked like the team they were earlier this season, and they were hit pretty bad by selling Max Kruse. So I'm not that confident about them, but then again, he's not that expensive, so maybe he's worth a punt.
Good stuff. Okay, so we've got our goalkeepers, and then we've got another 6 defenders along the banner at the bottom there for you to keep an eye out for. Obviously, logically, we'll move on to midfielders. Obviously, a very broad kind of position. So, Rune, do you want to just kind of run through probably the 5 that you'll put in your team, and then obviously we can maybe throw in a few others at the end?
Yeah, of course. I'm actually thinking to like double up on Frankfurt in midfield because of the Fürth fixture. And this means I'm bringing in Jesper Lindstrøm, 9.7 million. I'm Danish, so I just watched him on international duty, and he scored against Serbia and started both games. And it really he's just like impressing every time he's given the chance, and he's getting a lot of trust from the Denmark coach as well. And I understand why, because he's done so well for Frankfurt this season. 5 goals and 8 assists to his name in all competitions already. So this game against Fürth could be a good chance for him to like add further to his goal involvement tally. And then my second pick will probably be David Raum. And I actually like kept my hands off him for a long while because he's a midfielder, not a defender in the game. But he's just been so consistently good this season. And Hoffenheim face Bochum and Fürth at home in the next 3 games. They just have an away game against Leipzig sandwiched in between. But I think Raum is a player that can do well against any side, actually. And he's just so involved for Hoffenheim. The problem with him is he's just 1 yellow card away from suspension. So if he picks up a yellow card this game or the next one against Leipzig, then you would have to use a substitution to get him out. But it might be worth a gamble, I think, with the potential he has at home against Bochum, and then you can just keep him for the Leipzig and the Fürth game as well, at least.
Yeah, he's been a mainstay in my team for most of the season, in fairness. So,
nice one. I wish I could say the same. I became stubborn because most players who play his position are defenders in the game, but he's not. But still he's just amazing. So doesn't matter too much. Anyway, my third pick is Filip Kostic, and that's the second Frankfurt player I'm bringing in. As I said, it's one of the games to target this week, I think, and he's the most obvious pick from Frankfurt. He's very expensive, but he's worth it. Much like Raum, he's just so involved for Frankfurt, and especially attacking wise, he's really taking shots and crossing the ball and setting up shots. So a great pick as well. And then I've gone for Joshua Kimmich, 18.3 million, because he plays literally every game for Bayern, and he's just a player that's very involved as well. He may not score many goals, and he's a defensive midfielder, but he still gets plenty of points from providing assists, setting up shots, and winning duels. The fact that he's always on the pitch for Bayern just makes him a really attractive option. My fifth pick is pretty self-explanatory. Christopher Nkunku, 19.2 million. If he's not in your side, then you're doing something wrong at the moment. He's just been so good this season that you can't really set up your team without him.
And in the France setup as well, hasn't he, for the first time?
Sorry?
Nkunku was involved with the French team, wasn't he, for the first time?
So he was. That was about time.
Rewards.
Yeah, true. Those are probably the 5 players I'll go with, and I can add a few other options I've been considering. Sure. Patrick Wimmer is a really cheap option in midfield, and as we all know, he's been doing so well this season too. But he had a bit of a dip in form before the international break, and I also think Bielefeld have really looked poor. So, but if you're looking for a cheap option, he's probably the guy I would go for.
Good stuff.
And
sorry, any more to add, Rune, quickly for midfielders?
Maybe I thought about actually going for Daichi Kamada instead of Lindstrøm, just because sometimes, as a rule of thumb, it could be good to like go with a differential option, because I'm sure many players will be choosing Lindstrøm and Kostic this week. But if you go with Kamada, then of course you take a risk because you don't have maybe Lindstrøm or Kostic in your side. But then again, if Kamada does better than his teammates, then it's a real plus for you, because then you will really move forward. While if you just pick one of the players that a lot of other players also pick, then you won't move much forward in the standings.
Precisely. Okie doke. So obviously we'll get them going underneath the banner there. Just had a quick comment from Blue Danube guy, a regular viewer on Thursday night. So I hope you're doing well. Just saying that he hopes Kimmich does well, especially with Goretzka around again. So obviously a big fan of Joshua Kimmich or Joshua. And another comment in saying that Kamada is a very interesting pick. So yeah, well, obviously as you mentioned, Bruno, with the run in, Kamada could be a good shout, and he certainly showed, particularly last season, what a fantastic player he is. So he'll definitely be capable of snatching up a few points if he hits that form again towards the end of the season. Righty ho. So let's move on to our last section of this evening, of course, which will be strikers, where the money is. But obviously you can only sneak in 3 to your team. So Rune, who's going to be your magic front 3 up top? And then I'm sure there'll be plenty of other options as well alongside that. So give us your main 3 then.
Yeah, actually, there are 2 picks that I was quite certain about. Thomas Müller and Robert Lewandowski, especially Lewandowski, of course. He's like Nkunku, he's a player you just have to own. But Thomas Müller, I think, like Kimmich, he plays every game for Bayern, and he's been the 3rd highest scoring player in the game this season, only behind Nkunku and Lewandowski actually. And yeah, he's just so influential for Bayern, setting up goals, scoring goals himself, usually on the pitch for 90 minutes. So he's a real safe pick and one that you can just keep in your team until the end of the season. And then with regard to the 3rd pick, that's the one that's a bit tricky, because I was actually going to bring in Erling Haaland, but now that it looks like he will miss the game, then I had to find a kind of a temporary solution until he's fit enough to play every game again. And what I'm leaning towards at the moment is picking Alisson Player from Gladbach, 15.4 million. Because of the form he's shown, he's been involved in a goal in 6 of Gladbach's last 7 Bundesliga games. And he'll now face Mainz, the 2nd worst away side in the league, and Greuther Fürth after that. So even if Haaland isn't fit enough to start next week, then you can keep Player for the Fürth game. I might even do that, even if Haaland is fit enough to start, because Player playing Fürth is really attractive. So yeah, he's the guy I'm leaning towards at the moment. The alternative option, which who costs just about the same, is Moussa Diaby from Leverkusen.
Sure.
At least for this match day against Hertha at home, he's just a very attractive option, and also a bit of a differential, I think. He could really, as we've seen several times this season, I think he even scored a hat trick in one of the earlier games this season. So he's a player who can really make a difference if he's playing up to his best. So those are the 2 guys I'm considering the most at the moment. I also have a few other suggestions. I think Anthony Modeste from FC Köln is a viable option. Yeah, because he's been scoring a lot of goals this season, and as I said earlier, Köln have a quite good schedule, so it's also a good option.
Sorry, Rune. I was just going to throw in there. I'll let you say who you're about to say, and then I'll try and see if it was the same player as I'm about to suggest.
Okay, yeah. Last suggestion is another Danish guy, Jonas Vind, because he's actually hit the ground running in the Bundesliga and been playing a lot more football than I expected him to do. But he's really been doing well. I think he looks like a nice addition to the Wolfsburg side, and I know him as a player from having watched the Danish Superliga all my life. Basically, I know Vind as a player who's not just scoring goals but also setting up goals, and he's a very good link-up player who's very involved in terms of passing to his teammate and finding his teammates in dangerous situations. And Wolfsburg have a few good fixtures now, and they have a good game against Augsburg this week. So
Yeah.
So maybe Jonas Wind could be worth a punt.
Well, there you go. It wasn't the player I was going to predict, because when you were talking about a short-term solution, I thought you might mention Rafa Borre, but is he not in the mix for you?
No, actually, I'm not that keen on him, actually. For a few reasons. I've already picked 3 Frankfurt players, and I think picking a 4th one would probably be a bit too much, because at some point their schedule might not look as good as it does at the moment, and then I will have to spend a lot of transfers on them. But at the same time, I think he's too wasteful in front of goal too. I think he gets in the right position, but he needs to be a bit more clinical in front of goal. And with the alternatives up front, with the potential that the likes of Alassane Plea and Moussa Diaby have, then I would rather prioritize getting Frankfurt players in at other positions.
Yeah, so thinking a bit more long term than short term at the moment with the longer stretch of games, aren't we? Okie doke. Right. Well, that pretty much will put a close to the show. So obviously you can still see the players going along the bottom for a little while, just as we kind of close up. But thank you very much for that, Rune. Very in-depth. Brilliant to go through all the different positions with you and look ahead for the rest of the season for fantasy football. Obviously, we'll be looking ahead to see who's going to win the league, where myself, Rune, and Mark will finish in the final standings. Rune, of course, is targeting. Well, what are you targeting, Rune? I think you're in 10th place currently in our league.
Yeah, I should get into the top 5.
Okay.
And especially I'm targeting a top 100 finish worldwide. So
very good.
But we'll see.
Very impressive. Well, yeah, top 100 in the world isn't too shabby. I'd take top 100 in our league myself. I'll maybe target top 150. I think I'm in the 160s right now, so I think that's doable. Mark, less so, in around 200 and something, I think. So yeah, hope everyone enjoyed the show this evening. It was good fun going through all the different players and a bit of predictions. So just as per usual, go over and check out the Twitter page, Over the Bar FB and Over the Bar Extra, for all the breaking news and stories that we tweet out. Of course, go over to the website as well, otbfootball.net, where all the articles and things like that live, as well as, of course, the YouTube channel. And please do indeed hit subscribe, like the show, like this video, and obviously drop a comment on some of your fantasy football picks, or maybe how you're doing in our league or a league that you play in yourself. So thank you very much, everyone. We'll catch you on Monday for our review show, and hopefully Mark will be back with us. So until then, thank you all. Cheers, Rune, and we'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.